Welcome to the deep dive. Sometimes you just stumble across a story and it feels like something right out of a movie, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what we're diving into today.
Yeah.
This story of, well, really we're calling it institutional corruption.
Wow.
And one man's stand against it. So we're looking at a lecturer at Bangladesh Medical College. And this lecturer, he was basically ousted, kicked out, removed, whatever you want to call it, from his position. And there was this cloud of suspicion hanging over him,
Yeah.
And so we did an investigation, right?
Right.
And what we found was shocking.
Yeah, I think what's so fascinating about this case in particular is that, it really highlights how fragile justice can be within these large institutions. We kind of just assume that systems are in place to protect individuals, but
Right.
as we see in this case, those systems can really be twisted and manipulated when you've got people in power who, want to abuse that power.
Yeah, and when I first started looking into this, I thought, okay, this is going to be a straightforward misconduct case. But the more I dug into it, the evidence wasn't adding up. The allegations, they were serious, like accusations of indecent remarks, inappropriate conversations with a student, even like using his father's influence to try and promise favors.
Oh, wow.
It was like the evidence just wasn't there.
Yeah, that's where our investigation really kind of took a turn. We were able to actually get access to thousands of files.
Oh, wow.
That detailed this lecturer's entire online activity, emails, messages, you name it.
Yeah.
And what we found was actually pretty remarkable. There was absolutely no trace of any of these alleged conversations or any inappropriate behavior. It's almost like...
Right. It's like they never happened.
Like they never happened.
It's like they built this alternate reality.
Right.
Where this lecturer was like a villain. But then you look at the digital trail and it's like a completely different story.
Exactly.
And that's when we started looking, a lot closer at the evidence the college had, actually presented.
Right.
And that's when I think we found like the real smoking gun.
Oh, tell me about it.
Like the screenshots that they were using, the so-called evidence, they were completely doctored. We're talking like metadata, timestamps that were all messed up.
Forged.
Even just like inconsistencies with the fonts that were being used.
Wow.
It was just so obvious that they were trying to make up evidence.
It's a blatant attempt to smear this person's reputation, really.
Yeah.
Fabricate evidence.
And it wasn't like a sloppy job either.
Right.
This was planned out. They delayed giving him like his termination order so that it would like mess up his ability to appeal.
Oh, wow.
They ignored him when he asked for a digital forensics investigation.
Of course they did.
They even like made up witness statements to try to support their claims.
Wow.
It's like they were trying to silence him no matter what they had to do.
This is, that level of like planning, that's deeply concerning. It really suggests that this wasn't just a few people making a bad decision in the moment.
Right.
This was calculated, it was planned.
Yeah.
And it points to a culture where the people in charge feel like they're above the rules.
Right.
They think they can do whatever they want, and there won't be any consequences.
It's scary.
Yeah.
And the thing is, this lecturer, he wasn't like a controversial figure or anything. He was actually pretty respected in the faculty. His specialty was like cognitive behavioral therapy, conflict resolution.
Oh, interesting.
And like he had no political ties.
Okay.
And from what we could find, like no history of causing trouble or anything, it seems like he was targeted because he was actually trying to do the right thing. He was trying to speak up against corruption, and that's what got him into trouble.
Yeah, that's right. He was a problem for them because he kept calling them out on their, bad behavior. He spoke out against a hit list that was targeting certain students.
What?
Yeah. He was against giving unlawful clearance to students who had been absent for years.
Oh, wow.
And he even raised concerns about how they handled a mob attack on students.
Oh, my gosh.
So, yeah, he was trying to do the right thing, and it cost him everything.
What's really unsettling is that this wasn't just like one person acting alone.
Right.
Our investigation, it really revealed that there was this whole coordinated effort, and it involved people at the very top of the college.
Yeah, and it's interesting, the report, it doesn't actually name names, but it does outline a very clear pattern of abuse of power. You've got individual in key positions using their authority to basically manipulate procedures, fabricate evidence, and just completely silence dissent. They were all in on this, this plan to destroy this guy's career.
And you know what really stood out to me during this whole investigation was the lecturer's courage.
Right.
Can you imagine, like, going up against these powerful figures?
Yeah.
He never backed down. He just kept fighting for what he believed in, even when it seemed like the whole system was against him.
That's what makes this story so compelling, right? It's that even when you're facing these impossible odds, that one person's integrity, their determination can actually make a difference.
Yeah. It's like a classic David and Goliath story, but with a modern twist. And we're about to go even deeper into how this whole thing unfolded.
Can't wait. This case, it really shows you just how dangerous it is when power goes unchecked in these institutions.
It's almost like a virus, right?
Uh-huh.
Like once corruption gets in, it just spreads everywhere.
Exactly. And what's really disturbing here is how they just completely ignored any kind of due process. I mean, the college administration, they just threw out the rule book.
Right.
They messed with timelines, ignored appeals, and they even refused to do a proper digital forensics investigation when the lecturer asked for one.
Yeah, like they were playing by a whole different set of rules.
Totally.
It's like their own rules where the normal ones just didn't apply to them.
Yeah, and imagine being in that lecturer's shoes, right? You're accused of something serious, you're innocent, but there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
It'd be a nightmare.
It's like totally Kafka-esque.
And then think about the other people who might see something wrong happening.
Right.
But they know if they speak up, they'll be next.
Exactly.
It creates this environment where everyone's just silent and the corruption can just keep growing.
Absolutely. And ultimately, that silence hurts everyone. It makes people lose trust in the institution, it damages its reputation, and then it can't actually do what it's supposed to do.
So we talked about what happened and how it happened.
Yeah.
But why? Why would they go through all this trouble just to get rid of one lecturer?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
And the investigation, it seems to suggest that this lecturer was a threat to them because he was trying to expose their corruption.
Like he was upsetting the balance.
Yeah, they couldn't let him keep doing that.
It's almost like they saw him as a threat to their own power.
Exactly. And since they couldn't silence him through legitimate means,
Right.
they resorted to these, dirty tactics.
A classic case of shooting the messenger, right?
Totally. And it's just sad because this lecturer was actually trying to do good. He was standing up for the students, for ethics, for a fairer system.
And they punished him for it.
Yeah, it's really upsetting, especially if you believe in justice.
So what happens now? What's next?
Well, the report's out there now, which is a good first step.
Right.
But it's up to the college and the community to actually do something about it.
They got to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, real change needs to happen.
But how do we make sure those changes actually stick?
I think accountability is a big part of it. The people who were behind this, they need to be held responsible.
It's got to be clear that this kind of behavior won't be tolerated.
Right, and that people in power can't just abuse it without consequences.
But yeah, it can't just be about punishment, right?
Of course not.
It's got to be about building a system that actually encourages ethical behavior.
Yeah, a system where doing the right thing is actually rewarded.
And where people who speak up are protected.
Exactly. A culture where people feel safe reporting wrongdoing.
That's a lot to change.
It is, but if Bangladesh Medical College wants to fix its reputation, it needs to happen.
This case, it's not just about this one college.
Right, it's bigger than that.
It's a reminder that power can corrupt anywhere.
It's a wake-up call, really.
We all need to pay attention and speak up when we see something wrong.
Because silence only helps those who want to exploit and abuse their power. We can't let that happen.
Well said. We're going to take a quick break to think about everything we've learned so far.